was just about to clean my glasses. I guess I won't. Hi there, and welcome to Draw With Me. It is Thursday, as it is every week at this time. But this is a special Thursday, I think. This is a special week. Time of change. Time of, new page in the sketchbook. New time, new opportunity to draw together. I'm Danny Gregory, and that's what we're going to do today. We are going to draw with each other. And that will be fun. And how about those drawings that we just looked at? They're kind of crazy. For those who weren't here last week and didn't see the inspiration, we did blindfolded self-portraits. That's right, we literally put on blindfolds. I put on my mask, actually, and covered our eyes with it, and then just drew from, memory or fantasy or would-be projection as to what we look like. And it was crazy. It was fun. I think we got more people doing this exercise than I think ever any exercise before. So that's great. I mean, what's fun about it is you never know what it's going to be like. And it shuts up the monkey, that inner critic, that voice in your head that says, oh, what you're drawing is all wrong because you can't see. Blindfold the monkey. That's the goal. Can't we blindfold the monkey all the time? And while we're at it, block up its ears and shut its mouth? Oh, shut your monkey. Shut your monkey is a good thing to do. That voice in your head that stops you from drawing with me or drawing with yourself or being as creative as you would like to be. Okay, today we're going to talk about, well, first of all, I want to make sure that you have, at the very least, a single sheet of paper. Maybe you have many, many pieces of paper and they're bound into a book, all the better. But you need something to draw on and you need something to draw with. And, hold on, what's going on here? And what I'm thinking of doing is drawing with a brush. Just because this is drawing with a brush time at sketchbook school, we're drawing with brushes. So I'm going to draw with this. Do you know what this is? This is a brush pen. But you may not know what this specifically is. Can you see it? Is it going to allow me to show you? No. All right. This is a limited edition Pentel Arts brush pen. Yeah, Pentel Arts. Well, let me explain how I got it. And,
Huh?
what is it, Twiglet? Who's at the door? A package from Pentel Arts. Man, this is crazy. All these brush pens. And these, I love these. This is a brush pen. So it's kind of like a pen, but it's a brush, and it's a brush, but it's a pen. Lots of color brush pens. They come in lots of different colors and they're water-based, so you can then go over them with a water brush. In fact, they come in a whole set here, which is pretty cool. And it has the water brush, the gray, and the black, and I think the sepia all together in one thing. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty useful. Oh, you like that one? This is really cool. These are special limited edition Pentel brush pens. So this one looks like marble, like bamboo. This one looks like wood. This one looks like waves. Really cool. Hey, aren't we lucky to get all these awesome brush pens? Thank you, Pentel Arts. Yes, it's Twiggy's new job, being an art supply spokes animal. So we're getting ready for this, drawing with a brush, which is our next workshop with Chris Kaler. So if you're saying to yourself, how the hell do you draw with a brush? Now you know how to find out, but you will be able to watch me kind of try to draw with a brush. I've been drawing with a brush a little bit. I'm no Chris Kaler, but he's pretty awesome. And I told you about this last week, so you know all about it. If you want to know more about it, even so, go to bit.ly/drawbrush, and you'll learn all about it. It's coming up. It's a great way to get ready for Valentine's Day. Get all that tension out. Be creative. Fall in love with a new medium. Be in love with yourself, and then glide right into February 14th. Ecstatic. Aglow. What could be more romantic than to have a new love? A brush. And then actually, that morning, if you'd like, of February 14th, you can join us for a feedback session. That'll be pretty cool. So yes, it's going to be a really fun workshop, and I'll see you there. I've got all these pens to work with. I mean, I have no excuse, right? No excuse for not doing it. And so today I'm going to work with a few of these. I've got 3 of these kind of water-based ones, and I've got one that is non-water-based. So that's probably going to be in the offing. All right. Speaking of ink, I wasn't. But speaking of brushes filled with ink, we're doing another Q&Art Live. I don't know if you've ever been to one of our Q&Art Lives. They're free, just as free as Draw With Me is. And we're going to be answering every question you can ever possibly conceive of about ink. What is it? How do you use it? What's the difference between different kinds of inks, different kinds of inks, different kinds of ink pens, ink brush, anything you could think of with ink. And we have Chris Kaler is going to be joining us. We have David Pyle, who is our resident art expert. Our supply expert. I'm sure you've run into him before. We also have Belinda coming from Pentel Arts to also talk to us about it. So it's going to be like people with huge ink-filled brains showing up to answer every question we could possibly have. You can sign up for it at http://inkydink. It's free. It's going to be on January 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific. So that's next Thursday in the evening-ish. So yeah, there's a lot to learn about ink. Trust me, you don't know from ink. There's a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn, and I'm looking forward to learning it at our session. So generally the way these things work, they're about 90 minutes long. You ask your questions, I'll ask my questions, and the experts will answer them for us. And it's, believe me, I always think, how the hell are we going to fill 90 minutes? And we always end up saying, oh, if we're already out of time, there's so much to know. We've done one on paper, we did one on markers, now we're doing one on ink. So that's it. Q&Art Live. It's really fun. All right, let's get to it. Let's get back to it, and let's talk about today's assignment. So here's what I've been thinking. I've just been thinking about, change. In with the new, out with the old. And that led me to thinking about technology. And so I've named today's episode, is that what it is? I can never figure out what these things are called, but today's episode, Yestertech. Okay, bear with me. Yestertech. I'm calling it that because I'm thinking about all the technology that we thought was awesome and now is obsolete. There's so much of it, and we kind of never pause to think about it. We're so, I know some of us, and I've seen a couple of you mentioned already, I'm a Luddite. No, you're not. You're on YouTube right now. What kind of a Luddite are you? Luddites are like guys with beards who are, tilling fields with horses. You're not a Luddite. You are a person of the 21st century. And so today we're going to talk about all this technology, maybe some of which we're still using, but we know is kind of done, and drawing it. And I'm going to be drawing with a brush. You can draw it with whatever you want, but okay, you'll understand more about what the hell I'm talking about in a second. All right, so I began by taking a page from my sketchbook. Here it is. And just speaking of obsolescence, I decided to make it look like, just an old sheet of paper. Barely ever write on paper like this anymore. I love paper in my sketchbooks, but generally I tend to write on other stuff, right? On screens. That's generally what I do. So I made myself a nice piece of paper. I just want to have a white background. See my sketchbook that you've probably seen me using before is made of this kind of beige buff paper. Buff. I love that word, buff. It's a color, but yes. So anyway, so I'm sure we all use paper in various forms, but we're going to pretend that we don't, just for the sake of argument. Okay, so I'm going to start by, I'm going to just write Yestertech. That's the name, because I think what it is about this particular kind of paper is it sort of reminds me of school. You know, of writing writing notes or maybe writing a term paper. So I'm going to write Yestertech. And what I want you to think about as we are embarking on this is I, off the cuff, thought of about a dozen. Oops, sorry, I didn't really show you what I was doing. I thought of about a dozen of these sorts of obsolete technologies, and I'm sure I'm going to come up with more. But I want us to think a little bit about the layout of our page, because there's no particular reason to be drawing this stuff, but it is an interesting opportunity to, to really design a page thoughtfully. Not to just randomly draw higgledy-piggledy all over the page, but to think, okay, I'm going to be drawing a page in my sketchbook that's going to have a dozen objects. Do I want to make them all the same size-ish, maybe? Do I want to make one bigger and the other? We'll see. Kind of might be adjusting that as we go. So that's a thought. Also, I might want to write a little note under each one. I might want to write a memory of them, like, I remember when I first got this, or yeah, we never use this anymore, or yeah, I love this, or I miss this, or I'm glad this is gone. We might want to write little notes like that around it. So you might want to think about that page. So just planning the page out is it's a good discipline to have, to just, try and think about the presentation. Okay? And you might say, what, I haven't filled up the whole page, so I want to add more, and I'll keep working on this over time. Or you might say, that's it, the page is perfect, I'm not going to keep going with you. That's fine, whatever you want to do. So, okay, so here we go. There's Yestertech, and I think the first thing I'm going to do is a cassette. Cassettes, remember cassettes? Boy, loved cassettes. And I'm going to do, so this is sort of about the size that I'm going to do it. Cassettes, we remember? Cassettes are pretty complicated bits of technology in a way. All right, they're sort of roughly that size, I would say. Looks about right to me. Then they have sort of the label. They would have this sort of little thing at the bottom. Move this so you can see me. Okay. And it had sort of mysterious little holes and things in the bottom there. That had the, I'm not sure. I think that was like it fitted into the machine, and there were screws and stuff like that. So, and then there was the label. The label was sort of, I remember making a lot of these labels when I made mixtapes and stuff like that. They were fun. So it was sort of a label, and then there was, of course, the two kind of holes that you would have. There's the hole, and the label would. And, they would have, I think they'd have like little sprockets in there. Sprockets. Yeah, it was sort of like a window. Let's make a window. And that window was helpful because it would also show you like how much tape was left. So you'd have like the tape. One side would, maybe have more than the other. But it was that sort of a thing. Right. What else? And it would usually say A or B, depending on which side you're on. And then you would write say mixtape, and write the date. Or if you were like bootlegging tapes, because we always did that, right? You'd record somebody else's LP, or you'd copy them, and there was all that kind of stuff. What else? I think that's about it. So yeah, that's cassette tape. Yestertech. Okay, so we've got our cassette. Did you remember it? Did you remember pretty much how it went? Did you struggle with that? Okay, I like that. What else? Let's think of another. Whoops, I'm out of focus again here. Let's think of another piece of tech that an alarm clock. Now I know people still have alarm clocks, but we don't really have the. I mean, I don't know. I don't really use an alarm clock at all anymore, particularly during the pandemic. Maybe that's another way of thinking about it as being obsolete. Is it's like, who the hell needs to get up at any particular time anymore, right? We just get up whenever we get up. But also I think it's just like that sort of classic. I'm thinking about this sort of classic alarm clock with like the bells on the top. Yeah. And the little feet. Is that kind of how it went? I think a bit longer. And then it had like a little hammer up here, and what else? It had hands, of course. You know what's interesting? When I was in advertising, one of the things I worked on was, at one point I worked on a watch account. And I learned that when you do photos of clocks and watches, at least in advertising, you always put the hands at 10 past 10 because it looks like a smiley face. Yeah, that's basically the reason, I think. I'm not going to bother with all the numbers. I'm just going to do those ones, and then maybe just do little doodads in between. I think later on, if I do come back with color, I will add the little alarm hand in red. All right. What else? Oh, you know what I was thinking? This is something that I kind of miss. Card catalogs in libraries. Do you remember those? I mean, I remember when I was in college, I just loved the card catalogs. I mean, the cards, they had all kinds of little notes on them sometimes. Librarians would write additional things in pencil, and you could see like which ones were well thumbed and which ones were fresh, and they sat in these big long drawers, right? So I'm just going to draw a drawer, and they were like these very particular kinds of cards. They were index cards, I guess is what they're called. And then there would be this sort of thing on the front that was like brass or something, and it would say like, what would it say? Would it say the Dewey Decimal numbers? I think so. Right? Or would it maybe say I don't know what it would say. I'm just going to indicate. Oh shoot! You can't even see what I'm doing. Sorry about this. I got so carried away by my excitement about card catalogs. Let me just give you a bigger view of my page in general, so I don't have this problem anymore. All right. Yeah. And then you'd have the drawer going back there, and then there would be all these cards inside. What do they have? They had dividers though, right? They were, I think, dividers, and then there were cards. So you'd have cards. I'm going to just indicate all those cards, and then occasionally there would be a divider that would stick up that would indicate like this is where this particular section starts. So yeah, card catalog. What else would there be? Yeah? Dewey Decimal System. I remember when libraries were kind of getting rid of these, you could buy them. You could buy these, the furniture that held them. It was so cool. All right, let's try something else. Let's try, how about a telephone? I mean, obviously phones, so-called iPhones and the like, are, an indispensable part of our lives, but I don't even know why they bother calling them phones. I mean, how many times do you actually make phone calls on them? So, but there was a time, children, when we had these devices in our houses, and I'm talking about, and I know some of you are going to say, oh, I still have a landline. Yeah, okay, cool. But you have to admit, you don't use it. And if anybody calls you on it, you know that it's a crank call or, spam or something like that. And the thing I'm going to do particularly is a dial phone. What a satisfying sound that was, right? That was really cool. So yeah, and then, of course, you'd have to have that beautiful cord that would always get tangled up and that you play with while you were talking on the phone and stuff. So yeah, that was nice. All right. What else? Slide rule. Did you ever use a slide rule? I remember my stepfather was a mathematician and he used them. But I don't know that I used them that much, but they certainly were a thing. In fact, I still own one. And I have no actual idea how you use them. But, and actually that's another thing we could draw is calculators. Remember when calculators were the bomb? And it was like, oh yeah, calculator. That's a cool, indispensable tool. And there was a time when you couldn't bring them to school and there were all kinds of rules about them. But now, I don't think people even have calculators anymore. We just use our phones. Or we just ask Google for the answer. So, yeah, that's sort of what a slide rule looks like, I think. Recognizable to those who would recognize it. Something like that. All right. How about a TV antenna? Again, you still see them on houses, but who the hell uses them? Nobody. Nobody uses an antenna. I mean, we all have cable or satellite or the internet. Soon TVs are going to be obsolete too, right? That's going to be something that nobody bothers with. That was basically it. That's my little attempt at a house. Can you see it? Let me just move myself out of the picture because I'm blocking it. There you go. Yeah, so that's a little house with a TV antenna on the top. Remember adjusting them, putting tin foil on them, all that kind of stuff? How about a typewriter? Remember, I still do own a couple typewriters, or did we leave them? I think we might have left them in New York once and for all. I think it was just like, that's enough. Let's not pretend that we're ever going to use this thing. And I've tried many times because I just love the idea of it. Love the idea of a typewriter. But honestly, it's virtually impossible to use. It's just not useful technology because you're always backspacing when you want to delete. And it's just, I was never a good typist. Still, I'm not very good on the keyboard, but what did it have that little, it was a little kind of lever like that, yeah. That's another thing I was thinking, cash registers, but it's only a particular, there are obviously still cash registers, but I think it is a fairly obsolete technology. Because since now it's basically like an iPad on a stand in the store. and I guess in supermarkets they have them, but then certainly not the kind that was like tick tick tick, tick tick tick, that thing. What else? How about a Rolodex? Do you remember what those were like? They would have sort of they would have like a wheel. There was a time when a Rolodex was like a real power symbol. The golden Rolodex. You know, all these golden, they have all these cards, addresses, and phone numbers of important and influential people. They would have like a little stand of some kind. Kind of trying to remember what that's like. How did it work exactly? It must have had, it had tabs, so you could find your way to the particular number, I think. Put notes on them. They were really indispensable, it seemed. Something like that. I don't really remember exactly. What else? Is the typewriter lever on the right? Is it? Yes, it is. Okay. Well, mine's a left-handed typewriter. I invented that. Yeah. See, maybe if we'd done left-handed typewriters, they would have endured. But yeah. So mine is backwards. Well, that way you can see it. If it was on the other side, you couldn't see it. So, all my things seem to be facing the same direction. It's probably because I'm right-handed. Okay, here's a thing that I was thinking about a lot. This is actually might have even prompted this idea, which was the gramophone, the phonograph. And I'm not just talking about record players. I'm talking about the thing that my grandmother had that I always loved. It was in the living room, and it was a big, like a console. It was a piece of furniture made of wood, quite nice. It had speakers in the side, and you would open the top, and inside there was like an area that had a turntable, and I think it had like might have even had like control. I think it was like a radio too, and I seem to vaguely remember that it had like a slots along the side where you could stack records, so you could put records in there, because people didn't own, like most people didn't own more than, a handful of records, I guess. I don't know, my grandmother didn't. She owned like 20 records maybe, and then it would be sort of a cabinet. I'm gonna make it look like what it would look like from the top if you're looking down on it, right? It had the sort of speakers in the front like that, and it was all wood. Quite nice thing. Little legs underneath. I think that's basically what it was. The gramophone. And this was the turntable. I'm going to make that black. Why not? As if there was a record on it. Okay. I think these things are going to have to be labeled because it's, people may not, even if I'd drawn them really well, you still might not recognize what they are. So, the hi-fi. Yes, that's Betsy says the hi-fi. It's true. The hi-fi. That's very cool. That's a nice thing. You don't even really have stereos anymore, speakers. We just have like little Sonos things that we carry around with us. I also used to have a 78. I had two, actually, because I was collecting 78s at one point. And I had two that you would crank up. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What else? How about the Yellow Pages? Right? What an incident! The phone book, Yellow Pages. Can you imagine that we could ever have imagined that would go away? What was the logo? It was like hands. Let your fingers do the walking. So it was like a hand, like that. Was it? Yeah, sort of like that. A hand because the idea was it was the first search engine in a way. All right, that's the Yellow Pages. Don't worry, I'll make it yellow so you'll know that it's the Yellow Pages. Boombox, that's right, somebody mentions a boombox. All right, let's see if we can figure out what that looks like. It's sort of, again, a rectangle. And sometimes, remember how crazy they got boomboxes? They got really fancy toward the end. Lights on them and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to make mine with a cassette, because they also had CD ones. And a cassette player here, and then they have all the buttons. A guy I used to know did a book where he just did photographs of boomboxes. Lyle Aworko. It's like a fine arts photographer who just did photos of boomboxes. So yeah, that's a boombox. What else could we do? How about a BlackBerry? Remember those? That was another power tool like the Rolodex. It's kind of slightly rounded. I think I had one for about 3 months that they gave me at work. It was really kind of annoying to have back in the day when you just didn't want to be tethered. Now we can't imagine life without it. What else can we think of? Okay, I think that's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a dozen. That's a dozen. That's good. That's a good number. Let's figure out what else. What are we going to do with this page? Because we've, despite my suggestion to you that we plan it out, I kind of didn't really, did I? Floppy disks. Good point. What does a floppy disk look like? It's sort of a square with like a little window on the bottom. Or was that a label? I can't really remember it. Oh, and a CD. Really easy to draw if you can draw a circle. CD. VCR. Yeah, I'm staring blankly because I'm kind of struggling to remember that. VCR. I mean, what would it look like? I mean, let's just draw. Okay, I'll just draw a VHS tape, which is kind of like a cassette. Had a label, but it was kind of longer, obviously bigger. Okay. Walkman. Good point. Walkman. So Walkman would be, I'm going to do a small Walkman just because I'm running out of space, and I'm going to draw a pair of headphones. Had the buttons on the top. I like the yellow ones. Remember those? The original Walkman. God, that was such a cool thing when it first came out. I'll always remember that feeling. I mean, I must have been 10 or 11, and somebody put a pair of headphones on me. I was like, I had never heard anything like that before. And then you could walk around and everything was like a movie. Everything felt like a movie. Reel-to-reel tape recorder, yeah. Let's see if I can figure that out. My uncle had those. He was always like, my uncle was a real hi-fi snob, and he was like, there's no point in listening to anything unless it's a reel-to-reel. I can't really remember what it would look like. I haven't seen it in 800 years, but it was sort of like that. I made it kind of face-like, but yeah. What do you think? Slide projector. Yeah, let's just make a slide. I'm just because they're easier to draw. Slide with a frame. All right, I'm just made a slide. Boy, you guys are hammering me with a Game Boy. Yeah, Game Boy. See, a lot of these are just kind of rectangles with windows, right? Game Boy, but I did love my Game Boy. And it had like a little plus, right? Plus. And there's a couple circles. Game Boy. Boy, that was an obsessive thing, Game Boy. 35 millimeter film. Yeah, I hate to say that. Oh, flash bulbs. Good point. So we could do a camera. Let's combine the two. So we'll do a camera with a flash bulb. And we'll say this is a 35 millimeter camera, even though it was probably an Instamatic. Remember those? Instamatic. Boy. Led Zeppelin on reel to reel, says Marcia. A hairdryer? Really, Wilma? Do people not have hairdryers anymore? No, come on. Hairdryer? No, I don't know. I mean, in my case, yes, it is obsolete technology. But tell me, people, aren't you blow drying your hair, or is this another another pandemic thing? All right, video camera. I don't know. I mean, I use video cameras, I guess, but maybe like a Super 8 camera. Yeah, see, I guess a Super 8 camera. Or oh, I know, you could also be talking about that kind of, remember the huge kind that you'd hold on your shoulder that your dad would walk around with? So. Can you see that? Yeah. Sort of like that kind of a thing, right? With a kind of pistol grip. Jeez. I was going to label all these things. A phone booth, somebody says. Phone booth, yeah. What kind of phone booth? Like an English phone box? Or just a regular phone booth? Why do you have to make it complicated? Phone booth. I was going to say I love phone booths, but that's not really true. I didn't love phone booths. I think I like the idea of it. But unless you were Superman. Glass, right? Glass walls. Sometimes they would have a little phone booth, telephone book hanging from the bottom. But yeah. Oh my gosh. Jen Cahill says, I still have all these things. Help me, Marie Kondo. It's true, but now you can put them all on your laptop or even better on your phone. Hair rollers. I guess they're obsolete, right? Because people don't really have this kind of hood kind of hair dryer. Oh yeah. Boy, can I even draw that? That would be like, I remember those vaguely. My grandmother going to the beauty parlor, having one of those kind of things. Be like attached to the back of a chair. Boy, I'm going to run out of space. And I'm about to run out of time, too. So, we're going to continue this in the after party if you want to. Oh, the old school kind with a bonnet. Yes, that kind of hairdryer. Correct. Payphones, transistor radio, hand egg beater. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a lot of them. Case in point. Brush rollers, no. Ray, I've used brush rollers quite recently. They were recently painful, but... Oh, brush rollers. Oh, I thought you meant like paint rollers. Yes. So those are the kind that you roll up your hair and then you put like a bonnet on top and sleep in them? Oh, God. I don't know that I have enough ability to really project that. Are we going to color these? Well, we're actually out of time. We are actually out of time. That ran away from me, man. But what I plan to do is I'm going to color them, but I'm thinking of doing them monochromatically. Originally, when I was going to do this, I thought I would do it in sepia ink. That would have been cool, right? Should have done it that way. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to probably do maybe gray, and then I'm going to letter them as well. I see there's a debate about hair rollers going on. I'm glad that I was able to give a forum to surface this debate. Hope it doesn't get too ugly. But yes, I mean, there's hair rollers. I don't know. Certainly not a pandemic thing. Barely brush your hair these days. That I should use coffee to stain them. That's a good idea. I might do it accidentally. The problem is I can't really stain this now because this is actually a piece of gouache. That's what that white piece of paper is. It's gouache. And then I drew the lines on it in ballpoint pen. And yeah. All right, so that was pretty cool. I think this is an interesting kind of opportunity to use your sketchbook as a memory tool. But I'm also thinking like this could also have like a kind of a Da Vinci quality to it. You know, all these little objects drawn in brush, and then I can't really use a dip pen, I'm finding, on this paper, so I probably won't do it that way. I have to figure out what... I still haven't really landed on the best pen to use in this book, but that was extraordinarily fun and slightly relentless. I hope that you all were drawing this as well as thinking up things to suggest to me to draw. Yeah, so yes, it was pretty fun. And yeah, all right. Sandra, you just showed up and now you expect me to show it to you? I will. All right, there it is. It's kind of a mess, but it's gonna get better when I finish it, and I'll post it and share it with you. And speaking of which, don't forget that if you do this, please share it with me. I would love to see your drawings. I would love to see what you thought of that I didn't. I'd love to see how you approach this, and that you will use this hashtag to post it on social media or in the schoolyard at Sketchbook School. Thanks. Speaking of fresh technology, yes, here she is. This is the newest technology that we have here at Sketchbook School, right? This dog is growing like insanely. And she's nice and big. She's as you can see, quite a good actress, and she's very tolerant, and she is full of zest, right? You're super zesty these days. Zooming, racing around like a maniac. She is 4 months. Is it 4 months and a week? Yeah, 4 months and a week. So 17, 18 weeks. We don't know. 18 weeks? Something like that. I don't know. If I had a calculator, I could tell you. But yeah, so she's doing well. She's getting large. She's eating food. She's making poo. And yeah, all right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass you. Okay. That's Twiglet, our pug. Fresh addition to the household. Pandemic pug. And thanks for joining me. That was really fun. So hopefully I will see you next Thursday at noon here. Noon. I got to stop calling it noon. At 9 p.m., 9 a.m. Pacific. It's the same time. Noon Eastern time. I'm still a New Yorker. So I'll see you here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, for crying out loud. Subscribe to it, because if you do, then you'll be notified when these things happen and you'll know exactly where to go to. Plus, and I'm not really supposed to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it very quickly. I just wanted to tell you that I'm doing this. I'm doing these weekly video essays. I did my first one this week, and I'm going to be doing them every Monday. This one was called A Pep Talk for Beginners. The other ones have different names. But basically, you can listen to them, watch them on Monday. So check it out. And if you subscribe to our channel, you'll know when that is. So all you have to do is click that button below, subscribe. Why wouldn't you? Please don't be annoying. Just subscribe. Don't make me ask you again. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. But, you know, I'm making these things for you. The least you can do is know when they're arriving, so you don't have to flounder about saying, what. It's the latest technology, and it's easy to use. Thank you for subscribing. Laura apparently watched the first of my essays. Thank you, Laura. I'm glad that you liked it. I plan to make many more. So, yeah, basically, Monday, video essay. Thursday, draw with me. Friday, I email you my essays. I mean, honestly, it's around the clock, around the calendar with Danny Gregory and friends. Thanks for joining me. It was really nice to see you. It was really nice to draw with you. And I can't wait to do it again in a week.